Hello, my Jelly Fighters. My name is Jim, and this is your Daily Brogue for the 19th of August, 2021. Let us see what we can see, my Jelly Fighters. Okay. Here I am, failing once again to play well. Exactly. So, I want to talk about capitalism still, especially this Mark Blythe slash fashion vlogger view of capitalism, where capitalism is the cause of greed, sort of thing, or it has something to do with greed. I mean, yeah, I know you can say, what's her name, Ayn Rand. Her virtue of selfishness had something to do with just sort of saying how not only is capitalism creating greed, but that greed in some way is good. Actually, that's more how should I say that? A view from the Wall Street movie, not from Wall Street itself, which is highly left-wing. Like most places, it's very liberal, except when it's talking about itself, its own rationale, raison d'etre, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why so many people need raisins, but apparently raisins are very important in our culture. Let's try some of these guys. Very bad. Are any of these really good? Actually, no. Let's see. Well, only the speed. I can wait in place really fast. Let's not do that. Recharging and haste charms seem to be the best here. So right, when even when Ayn Rand is talking about selfishness as being virtuous, she's talking about what she's calling rational self-interest, right? And although it might not be a great way to live your life, it's actually much less weird or scary than, people who claim to disagree with it. And actually, this is pretty important. It's really just a claim that they disagree with it. A lot of times, when people who say they dislike capitalism because of this, that, or the other thing, they are appealing to your self-interest, right? They're saying that in some way your self-interest is an important thing, right? That you should keep in touch with, right? Oh, who is that guy? Frank Rich? Was he the one who wrote the thing about what's the matter with Kansas? I mean, when Rich is talking about what's the matter with Kansas, right? He's really saying, why don't the people in Kansas do the things that I think are good for them rather than things they think are good for them? But he's still saying people should do things, vote, buy things, choose a morality that is good for them in particular, as an individual, right? Now I have a super monkey. So Frank Rich, right, who is going to be approximately as anti-capitalist as Mark Blythe or a fashion blogger. Sort of agrees that you should, in some way, make decisions based on your rational self-interest. Right? He's saying that it is in the self-interest of, according to him, it's in the self-interest of people in Kansas, of poor people in Kansas, or middle-class people in Kansas, or whatever, to vote for Democrats. And since they don't, they're doing something irrational. Right? So Mark, or Frank Rich, again, I think that's who he is. Sorry if you're not the what's the matter with Kansas guy. He's really a Randian. He really believes in sort of Ayn Rand's ideas about how morality should be construed. Or investigated. He just doesn't agree with the conclusions that she drew. But if all you've done is disagree with the conclusions and not the method, then really in the long run you're going to agree with the conclusions of the method, right? Let's look at that message. That's an interesting message. Okay. Okay, we should do our jelly fighting in the halls. And we're stuck with a dagger right now. Shock the monkey, shock the monkey. I guess that's when the eel comes around. Okay, we do have to make our way to that food. Is that steam? Just gas. It's like steam. So really the virtue of selfishness is anytime somebody says you should have a particular morality because it benefits you, period. And that's going to include any time when somebody's saying, you should consider this moral or immoral because it's good for Jeff Bezos and bad for you, right? Or vice versa. Okay, so I would like to play with these scrolls. I just have no idea what any of them are. And I don't really have good things to play with. I'll do it anyway. Identify. Okay, we will identify something. Randomly identify a scroll. Okay, so we now know summon monsters. Let's try another one. Oh, enchanting. This is the one thing I did not want to do, but I may as well do it. Okay, so now we can drop Q. We can equip P. And see what happens. But that's the greed that the capitalist, or at least one capitalist, agrees with, is doing things in your rational self-interest. That's not really a great morality idea, basically, but it is one that shows up even for people who claim to be anti-capitalists, right? You should do this because it's in your interest. It's in the interest. You should not do this because it's in the interest of the rich people, right? And not in yours, right? So when somebody makes that kind of argument, they're agreeing with Ayn Rand, and so they've given up half the game, right? They've given up half the game. They've basically said, Mark Blythe basically has already said that Ayn Rand is the kind of thinker you should be, which is bad because she's not, right? That is not a great way to put together a morality, an ethic. An ethical system. That's weird because I've kind of gone with morality being more universal, maybe not completely universal, but more universal than ethics, right? So that's partially because people keep using these things like business ethics and what's another possible one? Business ethics, medical ethics, and so on. So they split off these ethics, engineering ethics. And in my view, that's perfectly fine. That sort of means, oh good. Okay. Okay, monkey, do not. I don't know what happened to the jelly, but my monkey didn't play with it and destroy it, so we're okay. Okay, so we'll just look at this. What's going on with the axe? Strength 13, so it increases my damage by 2/3 and decreases my accuracy by 1/3. So I lose out a hit every other time. So that's actually a good deal, right? Ish. Oh, plus it has the effect of so only a +1 ring of clairvoyance. So Super Monkey destroyed that deal there. Okay, so now this should be better than that. I feel like that's a transference. I say that a lot. So there's a strength that'll help with my axiness. that was not a good thing to do. Especially because I used the detect magic on this level. I knew there wasn't anything super good to go with. Okay, so the nice thing about the axe, of course, is that it kills everything around it. And that gives you this, the axe and the jellies. Got 4 there and some splits off. I don't know if I've shown this one yet. Looks a little stiff, which is weird because even though I had to modify it, the stance for the high heels, because everybody fights in high heels. I know, I watch television. Okay, no monkey. Do not. That is not good. Okay. So I have to go up this way. Not what I want to do, but I'm actually trying to protect my monkey. He's a super monkey. Nothing here. There's a potion over there, unfortunately. I have to go get it. Don't have to, but, you know, getting stuff. It's what you do if you're building. Okay, there's the secret door. Okay, see how the axe is really nice. I like axes. Don't like floats. So we'll try to hit them from over here so that when we get down there, there won't be any gas, noxious gas, annoying us. Okay, so this would be a lot nicer. Let's see if I can get close enough to throw the potion of confusion at them. That's close enough. We'll see how well it worked later. Okay, so there should be a key somewhere around somewhere. That feels a little scary. Why are there piles of bones right there? I will avoid that if I can. Incineration. Oh crap, the monkey burned to death. I lost my monkey. Some food. Even invested in the monkey. It's gone. Monkeys are always dying. Whoops. Failed on my dance. Okay, so I'm going to stay on this side now. The reason why I'm going to stay on this side is that there's a reasonably good chance. Crap. There's another spot here that those guys did not. Guys did not die the way they were supposed to. So I'm going to go over here. I'm afraid that I think I'm going to have to... Oops. I am so happy I did not do up that axe. I will therefore do up this sword. Now I don't know what it is, so it may not be that great. But it is a good thing to use. Clairvoyance and transference. It was transference, very good. Recharging. So I've recharged my recharging charm, very nice. Scroll of shattering, good. I don't want to have one of those lying around in teleportation. Well, I guess that was convenient. Is it quiet? Ooh, that's good. Redwood staff and indigo potion. Telepathy. Ooh, underworms. Very bad. I think those go together with a... Did it on a pillar or something? A little scared about that. Oh, wait a second. Oh, he fell into it. Oh, I threw that confusion on the level above. The goblin fell through the chasm. It's a good thing I didn't jump in there, right? That would have been bad. I do not know if it's possible, but I find it highly likely that it's possible. That you could do that and get stuck. I think you're not supposed to be able to, but you know, I don't know completely. There's a vampire bat. I'm just going to hide. Again, I'll hide here. Scroll of enchanting. I don't need rings, unfortunately. I've got some pretty good rings, I think, right? Could use a better ring there. Is this a black jelly? Yes. Oh, good. Oh, Staff of Healing is exactly what I didn't need. Oops. One hit is good enough. Oops. So now I'm fighting black jellies with a sword. Now I'm a little confused. I didn't think I would get something like that. Let's see. Okay. Now, as far as I can tell, we want to avoid those underworms. Ring of Awareness, Recharging Charm, Haste Charm, and an X. I have a bad Ring of Clairvoyance. And a Recharging Charm. Now, what I don't see is any evidence that the underworms woke up. Okay, is it? Okay. This is my least favorite. Do I have fire immunity? No. I have incineration. Runic gas sounds good, but right. So let's see. Throw J. I'm not going to get that, but since I already have a runic weapon, I don't really need to get the axe. I love axes. I mentioned that just a second ago when I thought I had a regular everyday axe. Does he see me? He does see me. So that fairly bad justification of capitalism that comes from Ayn Rand is a fairly common justification, strangely enough, for socialism, which is very strange. But socialism doesn't. But oftentimes there's also sort of that let's just be nice justification, right? It's often, I mean, that's what it really is. It's not really even a fairness justification, because a fairness justification requires some sort of balance, and you can see them try to do this, right? They say, well, you had a bigger shot, you had a better shot because of your parents and stuff like that. And maybe you did, probably you didn't, but maybe you did. Could happen. Nothing else comes. Where did the green ogre go? Over there, okay. Wisp. Okay, potion of life, that's good. I just don't have any food. So in general, at least here, in your daily brogue, I want to look at some more of that morality. So again, we're talking about two differences. Difference between the morality that's required for the system, or that the system inculcates, right? Sort of things you have to do well in a system. And despite what the fashion blogger view of the world says, just check real quick. capitalist system requires, I'm glad I came back up here, people to act well to do well, right? We want people have to act well in the capitalist system to do well. And that is actually a pretty awesome thing. You have to be trustworthy, right? You have to keep your promises. And that's what happens when people climb up the corporate ladder, especially, but also people who have their own businesses. If they're going to continue in business for some time, if they're going to continue climbing up that corporate ladder, they have to be responsible. They have to be respectable. Now, obviously, a lot of people will dislike it because, they're not responsible or respectable. Instead, they're political science professors who pretend to be economists in their spare time. I might want to figure out a way through there. It's only a +1 ring of awareness. So the strange thing, the difference between capitalism and a lot of other things, a lot of other systems, is that it requires people to act well to do well. Politicking is actually something that can end up hurting you in the capitalist system, unless of course you go into politics, right? Because it's. When you talk about the system in terms of socialism, it's the entire thing. The entire thing has to fit. But capitalism markets often have a it's something that can be put something that can be added a la carte, right? It's a kind of strange idea. I'm dead. Okay. So unlike a communism or some other form of socialism, although maybe communists would say that they're not a form of socialism, except when they say they are a form of socialism. That used to be fairly common. Right. Communism and socialism, you have to be very careful because it doesn't just depend on regular definitions. It depends on the person you're talking about, what they mean, what the differences are. Because these are systems, right? These are not real, right? I guess is the way to say it. Whereas even democracy is something that's, even though it's set up, it sort of has an idea behind it that is totally irrespective of all the other things. Socialist, do you want to own the means of production? Who do you want to make? Do you want to make decisions about different sorts of things? I mean, it's completely abstract that way. Whereas something like a socialism is always perfectly, it's a little bit of a you call it a house of cards, right? It's intertwined. It's in the mind of this author. It's all this stuff is intertwined and all put together so that all of these bad ideas, right? Public ownership of the means of production, or let's say I don't know, well, actually, it is true. It is true. Universal basic income is a bad idea. You can put it together so that it works, but you can put it together so that it works. Same thing with the public ownership of the means of production. So you can put it together so that it works. But, the real world comes in and you end up with the things failing. And it usually fails. A lot of things usually fail. Even ideas where wealth is extracted, right? Wealth comes from the ground. That's common with some of these theories. A lot of these theories, not common to all of them, but to a lot of them, that the wealth comes from the material things that you're using, right? It's also true of some more essentialist things like Marx. Marx says a hammer is worth so much. Until people complain that, well, after we have a machine to make a hammer, less labor goes into it. So does that mean that the hammer that had more labor going into it because it was handcrafted is worth more than the hammer that was produced by a machine, even if they're of the exact same quality? And Marx's answer is no, it has to do with averages, blah, blah, blah. So, in either sense, Marx's labor theory of value fails. In one, it fails because it's obvious that the two hammers, they're exactly the same, only the way they were produced was different, right? In that case, they have to have the same value because they're exactly the same. You could switch one for the other one and no one would know the difference. And in the other one, you're pretending like the hammer kind of knows about all the other hammers in the world. Everybody knows about all the other hammers. Now that only happens by one particular mechanism, and that's called the price mechanism. And that's what you have to get rid of in communism. No, I've completely forgotten why I'm doing that, because what I care about is the morality situation. Why am I talking about that? I mean, we do have an issue that all of that unlike capitalism, these other guys fail. Since I died, I may as well say what I was going to say. I think I was going to say at any rate, which is that the relative theory of value allows that to work. That's, the price mechanism is required for each hammer to end up having its own value, right? And we know this value. It's very, very close. So the value of most hammers is very, very close to its minimal value to the merchant, right? Because if it were not, then the merchants just wouldn't trade it, right? You wouldn't be able to buy. Wouldn't be able to buy anything, and since most goods are so close, right? When you go to the grocery store, the merchant isn't making a lot of cash, right? So the only thing that happens is that merchant needs large numbers of people to continually come in and buy his stuff in order for more or less the world to keep rewarding him for what he's doing, for him to make money, right? He needs lots and lots and lots of people continually coming through to make his life, to actually be able to survive. This is sort of one of the weird things, right? Where they talk about this power dynamic. That's what I was talking about. That's why I wanted to bring this up. This is one of the weird things. They talk about the power dynamic, but the real power is in the hands of the consumer in general. And so a lot of these exceptions people make, they're saying, well, capitalism is bad. This is not what I was going for, but this is something I was thinking about in one of the previous videos that I didn't get to because I keep dying and losing my track of myself. The consumer has all of this good stuff going on for him, whereas the merchant, even if there are only a few real viable choices, right? There really aren't that many places where you can buy, well, there are a lot of places you can buy a hammer. There aren't that many places where you can buy food, right? There are only a few grocery stores or grocery store chains, let's say, in any particular local area, but they're all operating with low margins, right? What were they saying in the pandemic? All these places are going out of business. Why? Because they're operating at low margins. Why do they have such low margins? Well, that's because capitalism keeps the prices down, and the big companies really don't have as much power as people want to attribute to them. And they mostly want to attribute that power to them because, they're big, and people want to believe that somebody gets rich by ripping somebody else off, right? They have this mentality, this zero-sum mentality, which is just foreign to capitalism, but it's the basis. It's the absolute basis of socialist and other kinds of theories, right? That I only get rich if I make you poor, and that's absolutely not true. We are so much richer today than the sum of all people, right? The average person in the developed world is so much richer than the entirety, almost, with the exception of some very, very rich people, of the people in the world 200 years ago. I mean, it's just huge, the amount of, maybe not 200, maybe 500, but it's just the amount of the difference in our lives is just huge. We can see that in some of our problems. The exceptions are the people who are just the opposite in general of capitalists, right? The princes who take things by force, right? Just like the socialists, just like the communists, just like everybody who's not a capitalist. They take by force other people's work, their labor. They enslave other people. That's the whole point of socialism and communism and stuff is to enslave other people for my ends. Because my ends are good and their ends are bad, right? But again, that does not build up, that kind of philosophy, that kind of system does not build up good people, trustworthy people. And I still haven't told the story. I'll try to get to that after I do my yard work. That shows why this is, or at least shows some of the differences between people with different in these different systems.